to download and install SQL Server, you need to download two separate pieces of software. There is SQL Server 2019 Developer Edition and also ssms. And these two links will take you to both. You want to do SQL Server 2019 first. And the ones that are at the top of the screen here are not free. So you want to scroll down and choose Developer. And Developer is free. And so while that is downloading, I'm going to pause. So you should see a window pop up asking where you want to save it. I'm just going to throw mine in the download folder. And then the other thing that you need to download is ssms. But you have to install SQL Server 2019 first. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. And then I'm going to download ssms because the order that you install these is important. SQL Server is the actual software, database software. ssms is the interface that we use to access the database. So you kind of have to install the database software first. So I do want to get out to my download folder. And here is what I want to install. So I'm going to right click on it. And typically I run these things as an administrator, then I don't run into any issues installing. All right, and so once it starts running, you should see something like this. And I typically just do a basic install. And then you get the license, and I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And now it's telling me where it is going to install. And I'm just going to let it go ahead and go into the default location. And what's a little weird about this install is that it's displaying links in red. So this is not a bad thing. It's just a link. Okay, so don't worry if you see these little messages in red. Now, after it finishes downloading all the files, it's going to start installing them. This process can take a while, so don't be surprised if you're kind of waiting for all of the installation to happen. I'm going to go ahead and pause while it is installing. Once it is done installing, you should see something that looks like this. And if you want to click on install ssms, you can. Otherwise, you can close it and install it separately. I'm going to go ahead and install ssms. That is going to bring me to this page, which is the same page that I have linked into our course. So if we are over in our course and we click on link to ssms download, it's going to take you to the exact same page. Okay, and then you're going to just click on this link and you're going to download the software. And I'm going to go ahead and go back out to my download folder because that is where it's going to show up once it's done downloading. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this because I'm going to install from here. So once it's done, you should see the ssms executable, and I'm going to right click on that, run as an administrator. After you do that, it's briefly going to come back and with a little prompt, do you want to install? You're going to say yes. And my system recognizes that this is already installed. So I'm going to pause here, uninstall it, and then do a clean install on it. So now that I've uninstalled, I'm going to reinstall this. And here's that little prompt I was talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and let it go to the default and install it. When it's done, you should see something that looks like this, in which case you can click on close. And then you're going to click on search. And you're going to look for ssms because that is the application that you need to launch. And that is short for SQL Server Management Studio. And hopefully it'll find it. And then what I normally do is I go ahead and run it. And then when it shows up on the taskbar, I will pin it to the taskbar so I have easy access. So when you run this, you do need to connect, and all you should have to do is click on connect. It should use your Windows authentication to authenticate to SQL Server. So all you should have to do is hit connect, and you should be able to see everything. I should mention that when I upgraded to Windows 11, I was no longer able to connect. So I had to uninstall both SQL Server and ssms and then reinstall them. But as you can see, the reinstall works fine. Now that I have this down on the taskbar, I am going to right click and pin it. That way, if I want to access this in the future, I just have to left click. And I'm actually going to move this where I like to use it. I like my things in a certain spot. So at this point, we have the interface that we need to use. We have SQL Server, but we don't have any database files to work with. So that is going to be our next step, installing those database files.